This is the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast, session number 193. Deanna Nunez on Waking Up Your Best.
Welcome to the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast with Jason Linett, your professional resource for hypnosis training and outstanding business success. Here's your host, Jason Linett.
Jason Linett here with a conversation I've been wanting to capture on this program for quite some time. First getting a chance to meet Deanna Nunez at the Corporate Hypnotist Masterclass with Anthony Gailey, hanging out briefly when I was attending a marketing convention in San Diego, and once again catching up here on this cold November morning, launching this podcast in December 2018. And Deanna is somebody who really began her career in hypnosis by jumping directly in, by setting up a performance at a military bar and just not looking back ever since. Just having that hypno bug of just deciding I'm going to make this work and I'm going to figure it out as I go. Really being an inspirational story, especially to many of you who may be out there sort of on that cusp, on that border of just getting started. The place where I'd meet so many people who are looking for that one more training to jump into the work, that one more piece of paper to hang on the wall, those extra cool letters to stick at the end of the name. And there is nothing that really replaces that quality training. We need that as the foundation. Yet the real fuel to all of this is getting out there and making it happen, and that's a big part of Deanna's story, as you'll quickly learn here as well. So jumping into the themes of how we think differently about our business, how we leverage the successes that we've already created, and how we scale up year after year after that. You can head over to her website, DeannaNunez.com. Links are in the show notes over at WorkSmartHypnosis.com. I'd also encourage you to head over to a different website, specifically HypnosisTrainingInstitute.org. That's the easiest place you can go to check out all the details for the 2019 HPTI Winter Hypnosis Convention in Las Vegas. It's happening Monday through Wednesday, February 25th through the 27th. There's about 27 speakers who are going to be at this phenomenal event. Day one is just Richard Nongard and I speaking together on scaling up your business. How do you think bigger? How do you go after premium clients? How do you really build those programs that really build that financial freedom and help your clients even more? The next 2 days are phenomenal speakers from all around the world. Again, the easiest place you can go to register now for that winter conference is just simply by going to HypnosisTrainingInstitute.org, and that'll link you right over to the 2019 HPTI Winter Hypnosis Convention in Las Vegas. And with that, let's jump directly into this amazing conversation. Be sure to also head over to Deanna's website and get her goal-getter checklist, which you can see right there on the homepage of the site. Here we go. This is session number 193. Deanna Nunez on Waking Up Your Best.
I think you just read it, liking my article. So my point of entry with hypnosis was absolutely the military. So the U.S. Marine Corps in San Diego. And just working with them, I knew that I wanted to do entertainment shows, and I knew that I could get out there in front of an audience, but I didn't know where to start. And much of the conversation with the people I knew in the business said, they all said, go to a comedy clubs and kind of get your feet wet, start, getting in some shows so that you know what you're doing and expect to not get paid. And I thought to myself, well, I feel like I know what I'm doing and I want to just go practice it and get paid while I'm doing it. So the military is where I started, and I went on base and started meeting with people and networking and finding bar managers that would hire me. And that's how it all got started.
Though, to rewind it back, was the interest first just to be on stage, or was it to be on stage doing the hypnosis program?
To be on stage doing the hypnosis program, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I never even thought about doing anything else. It was hypnosis became my thing. And, when I was a little girl, I used to always do some type of performance, but I never pursued dance or singing or theater or anything like that. And hypnosis became my presentation. So, I think it's a really fun way to express creativity and theatrics, as well as obviously my main point, which is to really get across the power of the mind and how I just love inspiring people that they could do anything that they put their mind to, even though it's so cliche.
So to rewind it back, though, what was that first entry point for you to at least discover the hypnosis?
Oh, to discover hypnosis in the first place. Well, it started with a blind date. So I was single and set up with a friend of a friend, and he was a hypnotist, and he was a performing hypnotist. And so I went to his show at Six Flags theme park and became Madonna in his show, and started dating him thereafter, which I don't think he actually hypnotized me that I would date him. Hopefully that was not a hypnotic suggestion that I didn't realize. But we did become fast friends and started dating, and I dated him for 2 years and really saw the industry and how fun it is and all of the opportunity that was available. And I saw that there was not many women doing it. And so it became something that I just couldn't shake. It was not anything that I did on purpose to become career focused, but I couldn't shake the intrigue that I had gained from having those experiences with him. So I decided to go to school and become certified and just start combining all these skill sets and putting them together and just kind of learning in action. And putting together my own show.
Well, what I love about that is I keep coming back to the quote from Lorne Michaels of Saturday Night Live that whether the show is ready or not, we go live at 11:30. So to look at that experience of what would you say that was a skill of yours or at least a perception of yours that made it so, I mean, you were stepping on stage, getting paid, doing it for the first time at that point, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. So I had what I think when I look back at it is false confidence. I had this vision that I could get up there and do it, but then doing it is another thing. So it was a matter of, honestly just stepping in, and it's the as-if principle that I teach today, where you have the vision and you just step into the vision. Well, what does the vision act like? What does she say? What does she think? How does she behave? How does she step into her power in the vision? And so it's a matter of, stepping in as if I already knew how to do all those things. And then you learn as you go. But really just starting from the get-go in the vision of doing it. And, when I think back to those days, thank goodness there's not film. Somebody has some film. Somebody has it. But, I'm sure it wasn't that great, but totally pulls it off in front of the right audience. I think that, had I done what the advice that was given, which, is go and die at bars, think about what your audience is. A lot of people that are drinking, and you're going to get heckled and all of those things. So I think I did avoid some of the backlash that you experience when you're a newbie by being in front of the right audience.
Yeah. What was it about the military audience that drew you to that as that entry point?
Well, it's funny. When I was a teenager, I used to have Marilyn Monroe all over my ceiling and walls. I idolized her, and I had this one picture of her overseas somewhere, and it's a famous picture. I'm sure a lot of people can envision it, where it's in black and white, and she's on the stage, and there's just all of this, this sea of soldiers, and I just pictured myself showing up, and it's about entertainment as well as just camaraderie, being there for them, looking them in the eye, shaking their hands, saying thank you, just really giving them appreciation. And so through the show, I just felt like my job was to come in and maybe be a little bit sexy, but also just really funny. I've always loved Carol Burnett, and so that was my take from the beginning, was to have that flavor and style where you could be a little bit suggestive, but also just really funny and witty, and allow them to bring their inner funny out in the show. So very much, as a hypnotist, stage hypnotist, we're not always funny, but we can rely on our people being funny in the show. So I think that, with that outlook and that mindset, we just were able to create success right from the beginning. Yeah. And then staying afterwards and signing posters. I mean, I think there's something about that experience where I'm the woman, and there was mostly men. I mean, it was like 99% men. And at the time that just worked. And I signed posters after the shows, and that just really got me going. And military people travel. And so they would be on one base, for a few months, and they travel to another. Then when they travel, they'd say, you need to bring that hypno chick. And that was my brand at the time. You need to bring the hypno chick to our base. And so before I knew it, I was traveling to bases all across America and doing like mini tours with the Marines. And then they started sending me overseas. So, I kind of felt like they were going to be a stepping off point, and then I would move on. But I never, I always would come back and do more shows for them. So we've been doing that for 20 years. It's been amazing.
So then where did that, what else did that lead into for you? What other markets did you find that interest in working?
Yeah, so as I got more experience, I became very focused on the fairs and corporate market. So working with agents, I feel like that was another stepping stone that really helped, was working with several agents in their, chosen industry. So in the fair market, I started doing county fairs. And as we all know, as hypnotists, we can just kill it at county fairs, where you really become the headlining entertainment. And I think that fairs helped me get really good at developing the skill of stage hypnosis, because you have to do show after show after show. And it's amazing because, if you have a show that's not so great, well, you get to redeem yourself 2 hours later in the next show. So, you have that constant just habit of fine-tuning your skill sets. And so working with agents in the industry positioned me, and I think having just really good promotional materials, just doing everything first class right from the get-go. And again, you know what? It's that false confidence, just stepping in as if I know what I'm doing, and attracting the right people. And the agent was able to position me in places that I wouldn't have been able to position myself in the beginning. So, getting that momentum where you just fill up your calendar is a really good thing, so that you're making money and you're also increasing your performance skills at the same time. So I think agents are key. But then we also got on the phone ourselves. I feel like so many of us as business people, we don't want to get on the phone. We just want to do what we do. And but I think getting on the phone and making those personal connections is so key. Being willing to put the time in to making those sales calls is really important.
What I love about this so far is that balance, that, doing the work to actually make it happen, which everything we're talking about can easily translate over to the people in the community that are, working in an office, seeing clients on a one-to-one basis, that acceptance that, the one thing that's going to get that skill in place is getting out there and doing the work. Getting out there and actually, doing the program, doing the presentation, seeing the clients. And there's no, as much as we can put out books and courses and, whatever the materials are, it's the actual skills of getting out there and doing it. I have to ask, is there some sort of story that stands out of overcoming something or a challenge that presented during a program that, you had to think on the fly to find your way out of to resolve it?
Oh my gosh, that's constant.
I know, yeah.
That's constant.
Which
right?
one?
So I would say, oh my gosh, when I think about from the beginning days of doing all of the performances, and then I really wanted to be able to promote my own seminars after my fair shows. And so many hypnotists have done adult shows. They're sort of notorious for doing that after fairs, because you have that free marketing. Every day you have huge audiences and you can market your own seminar or performance after the fair's over. And for me, I have not really wanted to step into doing adult material ever. It's not my thing. And so I always love personal development. So I promoted stop smoking seminars and weight loss seminars. And so when I think about just the fear that comes up when you decide, well, I'm going to do this, and then you have to get sort of over your own self-doubt and your own fears of, well, what if it doesn't happen? And what if I don't do it right? You just keep moving forward and you figure out how to get smarter about your marketing and looking at your numbers, looking at where you are getting the best results. Stepping into, I think about so many things overcoming it, doing live radio to promote seminars, doing live news segments to promote shows and seminars. And that scared the heck out of me. And I think that's probably one of the things that's been a feather in my cap is I don't mind doing things scared. I think I'm very attracted to fearlessness, but that doesn't mean that I'm fearless. So, doing things even though you're scared has been my way. But you know what? I got to tell you, when I hear what you're saying about like being willing to just get in action, nothing taught me that more than running marathons. And
Yes.
I know it's like a completely sidetrack from the
No, I
actual
love it.
business,
Yeah.
of what we're doing here as a hypnotist. But the marathons, I'm always a big vision girl, but I have found myself where I might have a big vision, but then I fall short, based on, well, can I do it? This big question of, can you do it? But that running marathons caused me to follow through. And it caused me to look at habits as being a very successful component that you have to unite with your vision. If you have a vision, you've got to put a habit to the vision. Otherwise, you're never going to get there. And so to me, it's like the habits are the legs to any goal. And so when you think about building your practice, do you have the right habits in place, sales habits that will build your practice? Yes, be really good at what you do, but also be really good at selling it. So, the marathon is like taking a training program and breaking it down. 16 weeks of training for a marathon. And that means that you've got to go out and do it when you don't feel like it. Go for a run when you feel crappy, or go for a run when you, are sick or tired, or getting through that, and you just do it anyways. That sort of visceral connection to what it looks like to get it done helps you to become whatever it is that you're wanting to become.
And what's great about that is that, the training for such an event is not something that there's one specific way to do it. People focus on different factors of, how they run, and if they're going to, they go into these events at times with different goals. Like, I want to go this event and I never want to walk. I want to do this event and I want to run the hills, or I just want to beat the time from last time. But there's also the dash of creativity. I was training for one at one point, and the game became, okay, so the long runs are where people tend to fall short. So, suddenly plans pop up with friends, but that's Sunday. I was planning on running Sunday. So I invested in maybe about a dozen or so half marathons just to go, well, I've already paid for the damn event and I have to show up now because I've got this thing in the mail. So there's the accountability. I think you and I have had this chat before that, again, it's finding those things that are similar in terms of their style that, help to motivate us in other ways. That, the phrase of where we are here is the way we are everywhere else. Breaking past the clutter of an office, and you're starting to realize that, oh, no wonder everything is kind of up in the air right now and I don't know how to manage it all. Instead of finding that one piece of balance and then branching out from there. Do you find there's a difference for you the days that you're running versus the days you're not running, the days that you're working on the business versus not working the business? How do you bounce back and forth between that?
I find that I do better when I'm actually training for a marathon. So it really puts me in a more disciplined mindset. And you would think, well, you can't do it all. And I do think that there is truth to that, in the sense that you can't have everything all at once. But having something that I'm working towards physically, particularly the marathon, it just puts me in the right mindset. And it puts me in a mindset of achievement and follow through. And so, if I go for a run in the morning at 5:30 and I come home, I already feel absolutely confident, and I'm going to step into my day that way, and I'm going to feel accomplished. And so it really puts me in that achiever mindset. At least that's what works for me. And I would just really urge the people listening to find what works for them in that same, that peak performance habits. For sure. It's like, what makes you perform at your peak? And it might be, I just think physical exercise is so undervalued. People think that it's about maybe their health, and yes, that's a byproduct. But I think that it really helps you to stay A, focused, and B, it creates that emotional turnover where you might be feeling kind of crappy, but you never come back from exercise feeling crappy. You always feel amazing. You never regret a workout. And I think that it helps you stay in a mindset where you feel good about yourself. And it creates a cycle that when you feel good in your body, you're going to feel good in your business. So it absolutely is I think it's the keystone to success.
And the disclaimer to what I'm about to say is, of course, hold on to every bit of strategy that works for you. But in the time that I got into strength training, the last 4 or 5 years, I've tripled my business, and I draw a lot of correlations from one to the other. And I will say, getting out of running and going into strength training was a factor for that, because there's no finish line. There's always we can keep going a little bit further. We can keep going a little bit further to enjoy the journey getting there, rather than I come back, and this is not meant to destroy your metaphor, but I come back to, the end of a reality competition show. They announce the winner, the credits are already rolling.
Right.
But then again, I'm sure but to expand the metaphor, there's still the opportunity to then go, what am I going to do differently next time? What's the goal the next time I enter into a race? So there still is that continuation. There still is that improvement. How has, from the initial vision in terms of what you saw it as, getting on stage and doing the presentation, how has that changed for you over the years, the more that, let's say, you've listened to your audience, you've listened to the feedback of agents, or even just listened to yourself and your own approach as to how you think differently about it now?
Oh my gosh, I have changed so much when I think about just from the beginning, and it's been 20 years. It was 1998 that I did my first show, and I've worked in all venues. I mean, from fairs to corporate to military to media, college, high schools, cruise lines. I love the entertainment aspect. I think that it really opens people's eyes. And I think that as stage hypnotists, we are so important to hypnosis as a viable methodology that people can use, because if it's done the right way, we really are making such a huge impact on how people view hypnosis. And it makes them say, what else? What more? How could I use that in my life to make changes? For me personally, I have used hypnosis in every aspect as I've gone through this 20-year career. I do practice what I preach. I've used it even as little as helping cramps, in the middle of a marathon, where I've done self-hypnosis to relieve cramps, and it happens in less than 2 minutes. I can make a cramp go away. To overcoming my own, weight struggles, the last 40 pounds and maintained it. But as far as career path, I absolutely have fallen in love with personal development. I love seeing the change happen for people, and to be a facilitator of someone else's transformation, I think, is just the biggest honor. And that is what I'm driven to do at this point. I love, of course, we call it peak performance. I think that there's so many different, just like you said, different ways of training, different ways of presenting peak performance, but that's truly the niche that I love the most, is just helping people that are already excited about their life to help facilitate their goals is my number one focus at this point. So if that is entertaining, then I still want to do that. But I'm not after just the entertainment portion anymore. I love the coaching aspect. And that's what I'm looking at as I continue my career and allow it to change and rebrand. I'm looking more towards the peak performance audience.
Yeah. How is it you're going about making some of that transition? I'm sure there's a change in marketing, but there's also a change.
Completely.
Is there a change in the persona, the stage performance side of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And if it's not, then please, you guys, with your feedback, give it to me. But in my head right now, all of those things need to change. You know how it is. Like, your own perspective is how it is. So I invite perspective all the time in this rebranding. But I do think that I needed to change my brand. For a long time, I was Hypnochick, and that was great and fun. And she had her own persona. But as I worked into more of the corporate field, I felt like Hypnochick was limiting me. And so I've moved into, for me, it's about being taken more seriously. And because I feel like people miss the wonderful, amazing strategies if they are looking at a brand in the wrong perception. And so now, as I've moved into, I think everything needs to change. I think that the audiences that you position yourself in front of, the networks that you're choosing to be a part of, that to really challenge your own growth and look at yourself differently. I think identity and how we view ourselves as business people, keep pushing that. keep looking at yourself differently and challenging how you can look at yourself differently and how you can use your skill set to bring value to new industries. So what I'm doing personally is I've rebranded, I've joined different networks, hanging in different crowds, and opened myself up to really learning again. I almost feel like I'm starting over after 20 years, but I think that's fun. I think it's fun, and I think that it keeps like new juices coming in, and you get excited about new things, and it's okay to shift and change. If we look at the music industry and some of our biggest, music artists, they're coming out with a new album in every, couple years or 3 years. They go off of their big hits, and they go out and do their concerts, and then they come back with something totally new and totally different, even though it's the same thing. It's like Mexican food. It's all the same ingredients, but how you prepare it, you're repackaging it. So it's like, oh, this is a new dish. And I think, the music industry has shown us how to do that, and we can certainly do that as well in our hypnosis careers.
Have you looked at it as a willingness to let go of some parts of your market, or the ability to just keep scaling up and adding to it? What's kind of your approach to that?
Well, how did you know that I just read that book, Letting Go by David Hawkins, PhD?
Good timing.
That's an amazing book for anyone to read, by the way, in our business. It is a huge amount of letting go, and I think that's really difficult and challenging. And I've used hypnosis to help me let go of old divisions and allow new ones to come in. So the letting go, I think, is absolutely a part of the process. It's just like harvesting our fields. We seed, we cultivate, and then we harvest, and then that whole thing starts over again. So as I personally move forward, it is a matter of allowing the old stuff to be the old stuff and being okay with people. I have a lot of audiences that will go, oh, I missed this, or I missed this part of your show, or but I'm over that. I'm already moving on to something else. So I think that we have to be the leaders of our vision and do what makes us happy. I have found myself where I can put myself in a corner if I am trying to create what I think other people want, opposed to creating what lights my soul up. And I want to stay in that space of what lights me up. And I feel like I can be the most creative and the most valuable in that space.
Well, it's that discovery that, what got us started is not always what keeps us growing. There is that moment to, whether it's to, subcontract something out or just let a specific market, just kind of fall away. But to look at, this is what I'm focused on right now. This is that. I mean, you're exactly right about bringing in the correlation to musicians, that you're seeing what they're currently performing, what they're touring with. And there's a balance one time. I forget the article, but it was someone who was a performer writing about the fact that he goes, there's benefit in performing the same old songs because that's what they bought the tickets for, but also it's helping them relive what they were going through when they first heard that music. But at the same time, they're interested in me, and this is what I'm working on right now. Then again, think of the concert where suddenly the entire audience is sitting with just waiting. So there's a balance
gosh.
Yeah.
There is. I opened for Chubby Checker at one of the state fairs, and I watched him do the twist for an hour. His entire show was
nice.
The twist, and then the second part was let's twist again. It's like how long can you actually sit and watch the twist? But I think that your audiences that love you will love what you do, but they also want to know what's next and what's fresh. And so we've got to keep evolving like that.
This may just be a legend now, but it's my parents who in concert saw Bobby Boris Pickett, who of course was the singer of the Monster Mash. Exactly. Halloween show in Reno, Nevada. He opens with the Monster Mash, opens with it. And the joke was he just stood there for 10 seconds in silence and went, yeah, what else am I going to do? Well, I'm now going to sing some of my favorite songs, and because you only came here for one thing, I'm also going to close with Monster Mash, and the audience burst into applause. Gave them what they wanted. The same as there's, in terms of your presentations, I mean, doing stage hypnosis, curious to ask if your approach has been, there's There's the school of thought that says all original material. There's the one that says modify some of the classics for yourself. What are some of those standards that would you say are part of your program?
Definitely modifying and then coming up with my own. When I feel the heyday, I think, of my entertainment show has been where I always have come up with my own creative stuff. So one of the things that we really loved in the fair industry in particular was the ability to do 8 different shows.
Yes.
And that meant that people that come back to the fair, they're going to see a completely different show with completely different material. I think one of the things hypnotists get hung up on is like, well, it's a different show because there's different people. No, it's not.
No,
It's not. So, I think being able to think on your feet.
I got away with saying that for 2 years. Yeah.
Right. I know. Yeah. But it's not true. It's not true. At the time when we came up with a lot of our fair shows, my husband was in the travel industry. And so we thought, wouldn't it be fun if we took them on an imagination vacation and we took them to different destinations? So we themed all of our shows from a different destination. So they had the Mexican fiesta, and then they went to Hollywood. And so they were all different shows. We had New York, which Donald Trump used to be the highlight of the New York show. And he'd go around firing people, it was really fun. But I think that being creative and coming up with your own stuff is great. And I don't think there's anything wrong with, sort of borrowing from an idea, but then going your own way with it is a way of just, expressing your own creativity and making it your own. I think it's a really important thing as a stage hypnotist. You don't want to be doing what everybody else is doing. So, and I actually saw hypnotists where they took my show and my show, which I thought was funny because I'm the hypno chick, and it would be, a guy trying to be the hypno chick, which doesn't work. You just need to be yourself. Be you. Be you and come up with your own material and segue from, some classics, but make them your own.
So before we jumped on, we were chatting briefly, and the theme of power versus force was something I wanted to come back to. Chat with me about that.
Gosh, I think that power versus force. So power is when you are stepping into that space inside of you that you feel just like when you're hypnotized and you feel that free space. And I know everybody knows what I'm talking about because every hypnotist should know how to do their own self-hypnosis, right? And so when you're in that space, you feel so free and so connected to your own abilities and everything else that is in your realm of potential. And so that is your power versus when you are forcing yourself to push towards a goal and you're doing what the outside world tells you need to do. And there's a balance with that because obviously when I listen to experts in their industry, maybe in marketing or sales or whatnot, we want to learn and grow. But at the same time, when we force ourselves to do things, we honestly create a lot of anxiety within ourselves. And so when you come back and check in with your goals and your why for having those goals, you'll stay in your power. When you are feeling forced to create your goals, like I have to make it happen, I'm going to hustle, all the words that I see that are so trendy these days, you can lose your heart in your hustle. And so if you're going to hustle, do it with heart, right? So you stay in that space of your own creative freedoms and you'll feel powerful versus forcing yourself every day to make things happen and comparing yourself to what the outside world's doing.
Yeah. Is there a specific example that comes to mind in terms of how you've applied that to yourself?
Absolutely. When I spend too much time on social media, I'm looking out at what other people are doing, and I suddenly feel I can put myself in a space of lack or scarcity. Like I've got to keep up, or I've got to, and it can happen in fitness. Our own clients that come to us for weight loss, and they go on and they compare somebody else's weight loss to their own. We start going into that comparison mindset, and it takes us away from what we value inside ourselves. And so I think one of the most important things that I do for my clients and I do for myself is I have them write out a list of their own values. And the question is, based on what you have overcome, what have you now come to value most in your life? And so it's a way of leveraging their struggles into now their strengths, and for myself as well. And then I write out this list of, values, and I come back to that on a daily basis. This is why I'm doing this. So if I have a huge workload, I want to come back to remembering my why. Otherwise, what is the point? I'm just going to end up feeling overworked and exhausted. But if I keep staying in my why, it keeps me out of comparison, and it keeps me in my flow of what makes me happy. So I run, I work smart, I ding ding, I work smart, I stay in my time management skills, and I stay in my vision. So that's an example to me of power versus force.
Well, I think that one of the takeaways inside of that is working with intention. That it's with purpose. Yes. It's moving towards a specific outcome rather than, looking at people who are doing social media for their business because, quote, they're supposed to, as opposed to there's a specific message they're looking to put out there. There's a reason that they're putting out that specific story. What I also love, and just a highlight here, and part of why we're having this conversation, is that I meet a lot of people who would often look at, what they're currently doing, and it becomes the game of, well, how do I play the reputation management game in some way of, erasing over what was there before, when some of the credits that you've had, I mean, you were there on stage, not being the norm as to what would be there in that environment at these bases, and to succeed in that format, and then now leverage that into everything else. So to embrace that is part of the story, and this is why I'm now doing this. Yes.
Leverage. That's such an important word, because you've got to keep building on what, where you've come from, and use that. There's always some creative way that you'll use a skill set in a totally different way. And so, being willing to step over even when you feel like you don't know what you're doing, or you feel scared, or, you're not sure of the exact steps. I love Martin Luther King's quote that says, you don't need to see the whole staircase, just the first step. Just stepping into that, into the next evolution of what it will become.
Was at a client in the office a couple of days ago that the whole one of the aspects of the change was that, and I want to go to the gym more. The gym is at work. It's really easy. I just need to show up a little earlier. I already shower at work because we've already got this whole physical thing that we're doing, which makes us, just part of the schedule. And she's in the office cracking up going, I just had to show up. I just had to go. That's all it took.
It's so easy. Yes. I love that. Leveraging the habits that are already there. Exactly. I mean, if we just kind of take that model and apply it to our business, we really could get a lot further than we think we can.
So there's been a theme of, again, leveraging, but also scaling up further. If you had to kind of bring it all back to one or two strategies to give a recommendation or even a suggestion to these communities, the people who are kind of doing the same thing day in, day out, how would you encourage that thinking to be slightly different if they did have the goal of expanding it upwards and outwards?
So if they did have the goal, I think that is the key word there, is yes. That person has to have a goal. If they are stuck in the everyday is the same mentality, then they're missing putting a new goal out there. And so I think you hit it right there on the head, is that you just keep having a new vision, a new goal for yourself, and allow your dreams to change. My dreams are way different now than they were in the beginning. And, I think it's being okay with allowing yourself to ebb and flow with what you've learned over, the course of your business activity. You're going to find that as you're doing something, maybe there's some things that you really love and other things you hate, and you shouldn't keep doing them if you don't like them. Mm-hmm. For a while there, I did stop smoking seminars, and it was wonderful. It worked well, and I did it in connection with the fairs. And at one point, we were actually able to work with the California Department of Health and Human Services. So we got sponsored. We got sponsorship dollars from California Health and Human Services for our fair shows. And so the fairs loved it, because then they didn't have to come up with as much money, to meet our fee. And so that worked for a while. It was really amazing. And we'd have hundreds of people show up at the fair to quit smoking. What an odd thing. But then after a while, I just didn't want to do stop smoking seminars anymore. I just like, that's not it doesn't light me up. I'm excited for them, for the people that quit, but it doesn't light me up. And so what does light me up? And so making sure that your goal, that A, you have a goal, and B, it's a goal that is worthy of you.
Absolutely. So in terms of leveraging it all moving forward, what are some of those daily rituals, daily strategies that you're using to keep yourself accountable?
Well, I think any of us, first and foremost, business needs to be business.
Yes.
I feel like one of the areas that I really struggled with for so long was my therapeutic mind. I love being the facilitator of someone's change and growth. But I had found myself getting so caught up in the rewards of that I would forget that it's a business. I never had that issue when it came to stage and my speaking fees and presentations. I was always great charging for my fees. But when it came to coaching, that was something that I really needed to learn, that it is a business. And so when it comes to your business habits, I think your physical habits, you need to have a keystone habit for your physical habits, a keystone habit for your business habits, and probably for your relationships as well, and spirituality, and these different major categories of your life. But when it comes to business, what are the habits that will get you to really growing your business? Because let's face it, success is all facets, which includes money. You cannot just be a successful therapist and have all these wonderful testimonials without really growing your revenue as well. Like, that is an aspect, an expression of success. So I think having a business mind is really, really important. And I would encourage people to go outside of just hypnotherapy. And like what you're doing, I think you have really just furthered the hypnosis industry in so many fabulous ways. And I commend you for that, because that didn't exist 20 years ago. There was all the education in hypnosis, but thinking of it as a business, it really was such a small part of who we were as hypnotists. So I commend you for all that you've done in helping people grow their businesses. But I would say, look at your business habits and do they equate to, your financial goals.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you. And where can people find out more about you and your work online?
Oh, go to my website. You can there's two ways of getting there. Either wakeupyourbest.com, if you like that little slogan, wake up your best, easy to remember, or DeannaNunez.com.
Excellent.
I'm sorry, I was just going to share one of the free guides that I love to give out to help people to just really be able to leverage their subconscious assets is my Goal Getters Action Guide, and it's free. It's on my website at DeannaNunez.com.
Well, great. We'll actually put specific links to that over in the show notes over at WorkSmartHypnosis.com. And Deanna, it's been awesome having you on here.
Thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed our time together.
Jason Linett here once again, and as always, thank you so much for sharing your reviews online, posting this on your social media streams, and also, once again, head over to hypnosistraininginstitute.org. That's where you can get the direct access to register for the February Winter Convention in Las Vegas. Look forward to seeing you there.
Thanks for listening to the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast at WorkSmartHypnosis.com.
Hey, it's Jason here, and reading is lame and videos are awesome. So do this right now. Go ahead and click subscribe right here inside of this video, and that will link you to my YouTube channel, and you will be the first to find out as new information is shared here online. Click subscribe now. Stay in touch. I look forward to hearing of your success very soon.